call the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilwoman Shaw, would you please lead us in prayer?
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the many blessings you've bestowed upon our community. We ask that you care for all the residents and help the ones that are struggling in every way. We ask that you protect our police department, fire department, and all of our other employees as they perform their duties. We also ask you to bless the members of our military, past and present, in Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Councilman McKinney and Councilman Fair are not here this evening.
Motion to. Second.
Bennett?
Yes.
Hartman?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
And Schott?
Yes.
The minutes? What, Franny?
Ron did show up either.
No. If he did, he's lost a lot of weight, because I don't see him.
That's good.
All right, the minutes?
Motion for the minutes.
You want both these minutes, Deborah?
That'd be fine. You wanna do them both at once?
All right, I'll second.
Bailey's up, motion for both minutes. Bennett?
Yes.
Hartman?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
And Schott?
Yes.
Motion for the bills.
Bennett?
Yes.
Hartman?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
And Schott?
Yes.
Hourly workers' time report, I think I've seen one in there.
Yes.
Fireman's time,
Motion.
Second.
Bennett? Hartman?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
And Schott?
Yes.
clerk treasurer's report, floor is all yours, Deb.
Each of you have correspondence from Ann, OMAC, and OML. I'd like to encumber $12,151.04, be the last payment of Stanley Miller Construction. It would be the amount of the retainer fee for the lift station over on Wellmont.
So moved.
I'll second.
Bennett? Hartman?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
And Schott?
Yes.
Each of you, I provided, it says Village of Beach City financial records needed for the audit. 4 pages. This is the beginning of our audit. They started today. The lady that was here today said if they're lucky, they'll be out of here in 2 weeks. That remains to be seen, but this is the beginning of the audit. If you want to know what we're working on, that's our list.
I was surprised at the top of the page where it says Village of Beach Village.
Yeah.
Instead of Beach City.
Yeah. Yeah, he sent me a note and he corrected it, yeah, I saw it. Also, I believe I have copies for you, and I sent to the fire station correspondence from Ohio Billing. Currently, when the bills come through for Ohio Billing, they bill out our EMS runs for us. They had been $20. That was the original contract when we set it up. They're going from $20 to $25 per call with a minimum of $100 a month. If you don't have at least 5 runs during the month, you're still gonna pay $100 a month for them to keep the account active. I have one piece of legislation. It's Resolution 1804, be your first reading, a resolution authorizing a right-of-way occupancy permit in designated historic districts and undergrounding areas. be your first reading, and according to Solicitor Babick, there's a 51-page backup document that explains this entire resolution. I did not print it off, I wasn't sure if I needed to, I need to, so I will be printing it off. It will be with my copy. I'll make a couple copies for council to review.
And this basically has to do with the wire.
Yes.
All that.
Yes. And that's all I have.
Thank you. We'll go through some other stuff tonight, and we're gonna have Johnson Controls that's here, they're on the agenda, but I'm gonna have them go last. Does the fire department have anything tonight, chief?
Yes, sir. Got a few things. Year-to-date, fire department's around 59 calls. I give a remove from inventory sheet to Debbie already. We have an old CO2 detector or CO detector. We've replaced it already. This one's been out of service for probably 6-8 months now anyway. It is no good. That's why we bought the new one. I would like permission to remove that from our inventory. Motion.
Second.
Bennett,
Yes.
Hartman,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
and Schott.
Yeah.
131, the old engine, the 91 engine, I give several copies to Mayor Thomas. That is a list of equipment we're gonna need to get that engine back up and fully operational. I talked to Deb a little bit today about that. We're gonna hold off a little bit on the money, just because of finances where they sit right now. But I wanted you guys to be prepared ahead of time to know what we're dealing with. I'm figuring it's gonna be probably about $4,000 worth of equipment total, and it will be back up and fully operational just like it was before we put it in a reserve status, so, or took it out of service to get it
How
fixed.
come we didn't have none of that left over whenever we got rid of the old truck a long time ago? We never had none of that stuff?
Problem with the old 68, a lot of the stuff, we never ran large diameter supply line on the old truck. It was all 2.5 inch. Back in the day, that's all they ran. I mean, so a lot of our stuff was 2.5 inch. We replaced that when we put the 91 in service. And since we've taken the equipment off the 91 and put it on the 02, obviously we just don't have it. I mean, that's given us the bare minimum. I've went through all of our inventory off the tanker truck and the other engine, and then we're pulling what we can from both them units. So that's kind of where we stand. And like I said, I'm not asking for that money tonight, but in the future, we are going to try to get that truck back in service. So, but that's where we're at on that engine.
So we can't use that truck at all right now?
We can use it. We can absolutely take it out the door right now. If something would happen with the 02,
Okay.
I have full intentions on rolling that truck. But in that case, we'll be able to pull the equipment we need at that time off the 02 and transfer it over. So yes, we can run it, but no, we cannot run it without the equipment from the 02 being here also. So if that makes sense.
What do you think you're talking time-wise, Debbie? They have the money to where they could, how short are we? Somewhere close.
Might be what it depends on.
I'm waiting to get the revenue in from Stark County, which is April.
Okay.
And the check in from, Sugar Creek Township. That'll raise their amount and hold us through September, but you gotta remember, we also have that grant for
Life pack.
the life pack that Dale got. We have to pay that money out first before we can get reimbursed for it.
Right.
So I have to look at what's coming in,
So we gotta have some left.
yes, and make sure everything's covered. Now, that life pack, what did we decide, it's gonna be about $29,000?
The purchase, that was the last thing on my list. The purchase price on that life pack is $29,898.08. With that being said, I did not give anybody a copy of the quote. I will make it if you want it. Debbie's got one. On that quote, the actual price on the quote states $35,000. That's because going into this agreement with Physio Control, you're signing up for a 4-year service contract. And what they'll do is that's like a $5,000 plan, but they'll bill you a fourth of that for the next 4 years. You understand? So the actual purchase price on the life pack is going to be $29,898.08, which is what we're going to have to come up with just to get the life pack. The grant reimbursement was for $25,898. which leaves our share at $4,000.08. So, I mean, we're coughing up a lot of money at first, but we're gonna get most of that back. So, we'll get all but, like I said, 4,000 of that back,
How
which
long
is
does it usually take?
excellent, cause this is a $30-some thousand piece of equipment, so.
Four to 6 months to get the money
Weeks.
back.
4 to 6
4 to
weeks.
6 weeks. to get the
Money,
back.
Debbie would have to tell you how fast money comes back, because she actually physically gets, she knows when I turn in for the reimbursement.
Yeah, I mean,
Is that about 2 months maybe?
a month to 2 months, depending on how fast they're cutting. If they're really on it, maybe sooner, but I have to make sure we have enough to cover everything, all the other expenses before we do that.
So I guess while we're talking about that, I kinda jumped out of line here. Is that something we wanna make a decision on tonight, how we're gonna proceed? Can we go ahead and order this life pack? It's 4 to 6 weeks out getting the equipment. We have to have it ordered by July 31st. So I mean, we got a little bit of time, you know, but I don't wanna wait till the last minute either, so.
So you're talking April when we get some of the money in, but it's gonna take 6 weeks to get the other money back.
Get it back, yeah.
So we can't spend it then until we get that back.
No, if I get in 24,000 from Stark County and 15,000 from Sugar Creek Township, okay, I've got my cash.
Right.
And I can start dispersing it, but for me to spend the 29, and then right away spend this, I can't do it all at once. I have to make sure I have enough flow. But you can go ahead and vote on it, which would be nice. And
Vote on-
and let you know what I'm gonna
Vote
do.
on that one and this here.
Yeah, I just can't tell you, I can't give you a date. I've gotta make sure money comes in to cover it.
Maybe sometime in May.
We should be getting out most of our money in April.
So let's go ahead and vote on that and the other one too.
Just so you guys understand on that service contract you guys are voting on, because this goes with it. It says 4 years. That will make that piece of equipment covered for 5 years. What you're voting on is just to lock in that price for the 4 years after the first year. So we're not paying for that until next year, and the next year, and the next year. That's why it's not on there.
You got it.
That gives you 5 years of full coverage is what that's doing.
So I'll go ahead and make a motion to go ahead and vote on the life pack and this stuff here,
Number one,
whenever you get the money in. Yes.
okay?
I'll second.
Bennett,
Yes.
Hartman,
Yes.
Daley,
Yes.
and Schott?
Yes.
April 21st, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. is Stark County Safe Kids Day. That's over at the Fairless High School. I'm going to take a couple of our units, me and a few other guys. It's more or less a touch the truck type of event for the kids. Brewster's invited us to come along with the other area departments. So if anybody's interested in that, we'll be over there. Like I said, that's on the 21st. It's a Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. For those of you that don't know, Andrew Wood, Sergeant with the police department, has joined the fire department also. We're in the process of getting through everything he needs to run for us. We'll have to hash out how you're gonna handle that as far as if he's on duty for the PD and stuff. That's up to you guys. That's not me. That's between you and Chief Guy. But I do know Andrew lives right out of town, and he'll be a very good asset to the fire department. He's also taking the first responder course as we speak. So hopefully in the off shift for him, he'll be able to respond for us. So the only other thing I got 2 things I'm asking for money for still tonight. I would like to get custom labels off of Uline. This stuff's a lot cheaper than I've been talking. Sorry, John. These labels will look just like this. They're a 2x3 label. They say property of Beach City Fire and Rescue, give our address. The reason we need these is a lot of our equipment now, being we bought it from other departments, is labeled to them. So we have flashlights that say Navarre Village. We have air packs that say, Bethlehem Township. We need to get this stuff fixed so we know it's ours when we're out on the scene. Them labels are $176. That's for 500. That should be more than sufficient to get
Will
us
them
back.
labels stay on that no matter what you're doing out in the weather?
Yes, they are weatherproof labels. They're a permanent adhesive label, so they should stick no matter what we get into. So but that's $176. The other thing I'm asking for is an office chair for the chief's office. The chair we have over there was bought back when Mr. Desiato here was fire chief. It's definitely seen its better day. The chair Debbie or Cindy got through you guys' price through Staples is $294.79 for the
There shouldn't be
office
nothing
chair.
wrong with that chair because he never even sit on it.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what, that chair is definitely worn out.
Would you like it in the shape of a throne?
That's what
If
the
we
one
could get
is.
it in like peach or, you should know, it's just, it's a nice chair.
It
And
comes
like
with
I
a
said, that's
crown.
through you guys' price, we can't get it that cheap through us ordering it, so.
Is that all?
So total for both of them, the roll of labels and the office chair is $470.79.
I'll make a motion.
Second,
Bennett,
Yes.
Hartman,
Yes.
Bailey,
yes.
and Chuck.
Well, yeah, you know what he does actually. He goes Thursday.
Is that all you got, Chief?
That's all I got. Thank you guys.
See you in a couple
Chief
of
Geip,
months.
do you have anything for us tonight?
A couple things. A couple years ago, we were involved with the OBI task force, and it kind of fell apart. I've rejoined us in that. We have, right now, we have a balance in our account of $18 that we can spend. What we'll do is I've talked to Debbie a little bit on it, we'll put the officers on, Debbie will pay the officers, I would then submit a bill to, the sheriff's office, and they'll send Debbie a check for it. So we're gonna get about $200 a month split between here and Wilmot to do a task force on the state routes, so that's free payroll for you guys, that you guys don't have to pay for. Tax letters, my officer's been working on delivering tax letters to those who have not filed. Everything that Stephanie has given them has been passed out and delivered. So those should all be pretty well done. I think there's a few stragglers that she's still working on that she's gonna give Mark tomorrow, but we've attempted to serve 3 times, and after the 3rd time, we leave it on the door, and we're kinda done with it. So it's out of our hands from there. And
These are
That's-
non-filers from last year, correct?
I'm not sure how many years they went, but, after, as far as anything goes after that, I kinda wanna leave my department out of it, go on the civil route. I don't mind handing them out and saying, hey, here you go, but other than that, I don't really wanna get my officers involved with tax stuff too much.
Yeah, I think we had talked about that before, going to 3 times and then turning them into collections. I think, yeah, we've discussed that numerous times before.
I'm working right now, all the computers are installed in cruisers, they're working great. I'm working with our dispatchers right now I'm being told, and I'm not 100% on this, but they have a program there that our dispatchers will be able to see where our cruisers are at all times whenever they got the computer on, working on this program. They can now send us our calls on this, and also they can send us instant messages on there as well as my officers can go back and forth.
Through the radio system.
Through the computers. We have
Okay.
computers in the car, we can now, from what I'm told, this computer system, this program will allow us to do is at no cost to the village. It'll allow our dispatchers to communicate to us back and forth, give us our calls on there, and, they'll still come across the radios at some points, but for the most part, we don't have to use the radios for the calls, but obviously we're going to. And the nice thing is that this program has a GPS setting in it, where it'll tell my dispatchers where my officers are at. So if my officer's on a call and they don't respond to dispatch or something's going on, they can immediately send other officers directly to them without having to try to figure out where they're at. So that's a huge,
Big safety issue. right
yeah,
there.
that's a huge
That's nice.
safety thing, and my top priority is to keep my officers safe. With the Marks radios, I guess there are some used radios that they were able to come across, and I requested to get 3 of those. If we could desperately use them, I hope they consider us, so we'll see.
Who's got them?
I'm not sure who has them, it just came from Major Anderson sent out an email, as part of the communication saying, they could possibly get some used radios if anyone needs them, and I said, yeah, we could desperately use a few more, so I asked for 3, and hopefully they'll, so, and that's all I've got.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, here's my, sorry, I just saw this going through report.
There it is. Do you have anything tonight, John?
Yeah, some items to get rid of, old meter testing equipment, old crimper, old chainsaw, old drill, old hydraulic pruners, old tool kit, and a mower that's been out at the farm, I guess, for a couple of years, its engine's blowed up in a big scrap. And on this mower, Shannon, our employee, would like to know if he can buy that mower off of the city. He has an engine for it, he can do it for himself. If he would, he'd like to know if you guys would sell it to him.
Are we allowed to do that?
What's the value on it? Are you scrap, is that one of the things you scrap?
And the engine's blowed up, probably the scrap, probably get it maybe 10, 12 bucks out of the scrap. No.
What do you wanna give us for the thing?
He didn't give a price, he wanted to know if you'd be interested in selling it.
Yeah, I just want to know if it's legal, huh?
I think it is, as long as the price is so,
Well, that's
so
why I
low.
asked the lawyer.
Yeah, I think it is.
I think that's what he's gonna say.
Comfortable.
Okay.
As long as we're comfortable with it. It'd be nice to have some estimate, I mean, even if it's only, you know what the scrap value is, so you know what the fair market value is. But that's a.
I don't know what scrap prices are, last I heard they were down, but I don't know what they are now.
I just don't bother me. I just wanted to make sure we were allowed to do that.
I think there is a figure, and I can't remember what it is anymore.
It's much higher than, I mean, it's, I think like 5,000 or something.
You mean 5,000, you couldn't sell it if it was worth over 5,000?
Yeah,
Bid it out.
you'd have to auction it, but at least put it to sale.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and scrap the stuff he wants to scrap, and put on there, if we sell the other thing for, let's put it at what, $35, $40? Oh, that's okay, you got another
Rob,
way?
the guy, we were gonna scrap it just for $15 or something.
Okay, whatever you want to do.
I mean, that's what I'm thinking.
I agree.
I mean, we were gonna throw it away.
It saves us from having to pick it up and haul it somewhere and throw it
Oh,
away.
that's okay, I just throwing up
Yeah.
with some kind of price.
Yeah, we'd have to haul it down ourselves, and that'd be manpower and one of our trucks
Right.
all.
I made the motion, waiting for a second.
I'll second
Bennett? Yes. Hartman?
it. Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Schott?
Yes.
Okay, we hired a new employee for the wastewater treatment plant, Travis Smith from Dover. He'll be starting, the 16th of April, if he passes his physical. He has his class 1 sewer license already. He has his class 1 water, all he needs to do is get hours for that. And when he starts work, he'll go get those hours, and he'll automatically have his, class 1 water also.
It's basically just what we were hoping to find. It worked out.
The drive-through for ditch number 2 is ready to be put in tomorrow. They're going to install that tomorrow already. We ordered it last Thursday and they got in already, so they're going to come install that, so it'll be ready to go. On the asset management deal, it has to be done by October 1st, according to the EPA. ADR come in at the lowest bid of $17,500 to do that. We're supposed to, they'll file for a EPA grant for us. If you get the EPA grant, then you get so much for that. The way I understand it, you get forgiveness for $10,000, so your balance would be $7,500. You gotta pay that back within 5 years. But if you agree to let them do the work, you'll know more about that when he fills the paperwork out. So there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can either say, yeah, have them do it if we get the grant, or go ahead and do it and get all the money we can out of the grant, but it has to be done by October the 1st this year. And as of right now, last meeting I was to, the EPA is not going to extend that date, but that could change.
And just to add to that, there's a lot of stuff to do before that date. This isn't something that we can just do in a month.
No, it takes quite a few months to do it.
Yeah.
I have the quote here, I mean, if you guys wanna read it, tells you what they're gonna do and the whole 9 yards. I'll give it you guys, I'll leave a copy there, you guys can read it.
So what kind of money, Don, did we gotta come up with, any at all?
All depends how much you get back out of the grant. See, we get 10,000 back, or they get 10,000 forgiveness, that means the EPA lends us the money, they drop $10,000 off, give it to you. Then you end up owing 7,500. You have to pay the 7,500 back to them within 5 years. Right, that way it is, that's what you explained it to me.
No, not within 5 years, not back to us.
No, back to the EPA.
Oh, I don't know what the term was on EPA.
I think on the balance end of it,
Yes, it was a no interest or zero interest loan
Right, it
for
was
the balance
5
of
years.
it. Yeah, so that part of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Debbie, is there any problem with payment on this stuff? What he's doing?
I wouldn't think so for that amount. I'm just curious, and if the grant will be actually 10,000 guaranteed, or if it goes to maybe 2 to 10,000, I'm just curious on what that would be.
It's from what EPA has told us is they take them all, they look at them, and they just say, we're gonna give it to this, 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 and this, and it's up to 10,000. But I believe it was 10,000, 10,000, 10,000, until they ran out of money.
So
But
we
it-
wouldn't get a surprise where instead of 7,000, it wouldn't be.
You would
double
know,
that
you would know before, you would know right away.
Before you start the job?
No.
Yes, well,
if that's the way you wanna do it.
yes, if that's the way you wanna do it.
As I say, there's 2 ways you can do it. Either you could wait, see if they get the grant, and then say, okay, go with the project. But if they don't get the grant, you still have to go with the project. So it has to be done by October. And
Yeah, you really don't
it's,
have two.
it's 5 months, it might take at least 5 months.
Oh,
You-
yeah.
you
It's
do
start,
everything.
we're down to the red line and just
So the
getting stuff
thing is,
done.
we need to get started now,
Yeah.
whichever way we're gonna do it.
As soon as possible.
Yeah.
Do we have to have an ordinance on that?
No, 'cause we're not going to contract our.
Yeah, there would be a contract with us.
Oh, yeah, we're already.
So you gotta send the contract up here.
Yes, you already have that, I believe.
Okay, we'll have to do a resolution or an ordinance doing a contract for it.
Yeah.
Do that at the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Will you send me a copy of the contract?
This is what he said.
I can forward that to you if you'd like.
You will, okay, great.
You gonna forward it to him?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the sooner they get started on the paperwork, the woman from the EPA told us, the better chance you have of getting the money. She
Okay.
says, I wanna get all the money back into Stark County that I can.
Well, then we'll get that, we'll do that at the next meeting then.
All right, that's
Providing
fine.
we have enough people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll go pick them up in the car. Bring them in, then take them home.
Because in order to do it by emergency, you need all 6, right?
Aye.
5, okay.
That is all I have.
Okay, thank you. Stephen, do you have anything for us tonight?
Just quickly, I wanted to let council know or ask permission. I will be out of town on May 22nd, for that meeting. I think it's the second meeting that I've missed for years, but I wanted you to know as far as.
May 21st or 22nd?
21st.
It'll be the 21st.
Okay.
Yeah, because we only got one more meeting in April, and then we got 3 weeks off, so we want to get that stuff done next meeting.
And I can have anything done, the week out, I'll probably not have real good internet access, but I can have anything done that needs to be done well in advance, or via email, I can send it.
Good.
That it?
That's it.
All right. We have a few different people here this evening. Bill Romer's here. I don't know if you wanted to speak tonight, Bill, or?
Yes, if I could.
Okay. It is Romer, right?
Very good. Thanks, everyone. I'm Bill Romer, 3616 Southern Road in Richfield, a full 50 minutes north of here. I was here about 11 months ago and promised that I would come back. I am a candidate for Ohio's 38th District House of Representatives. And, you know, at the time, I said I worked really hard and you're gonna see me again, and you did. One quick thing, relative to the purchase, the need to bid, I believe it's $1,000 limit. So you're well within that on your scrap value. Since I was here, I've done a whole lot of things. I had a really nice tour. In fact, I was talking to the firemen. I had a really nice tour of the fire department because I was down here for a pancake breakfast with the Grange. In fact, my friend Josie won the wine basket. She was all excited about that. Unfortunately, she couldn't come tonight. Chief and I had a chance to talk over at Wilmot because I was over at Wilmot's council meeting last May, I think it was. I've also attended meetings. I was just in Sugar Creek 2 weeks ago, and Brewster and Canal Fulton, and I've been in each of the school boards also to make sure I know the issues facing the local residents, the issues, you know, facing the elected officials, and what's going on here in Stark County, in western Stark County. Because the district is really convoluted. It starts all the way at the Cuyahoga County line and runs all the way down to the Wayne County line. But I do this on a full-time basis. Just real quick background, I was director of sales for AT&T, was fortunate enough to be able to retire. Ended up coaching and teaching. We won the championship last year on my travel baseball team. But I also served as county commissioner on Summit County Council for 4 years in Summit County. I currently do serve on the Summit County Education Service Center Board of Governors as vice president, which is a really long title for the Summit County School Board. If anyone has any questions after the meeting, I would be available to talk to you. I have a primary. There won't be anybody running against me in the primary. I do have a general election opponent. But I do promise to continue to work, to serve, to make sure that I'm aware of the issues, that I meet the people, and I'm involved in the communities, in each of the communities all throughout the 38th district. So thank you so much for your time.
You Democrat or Republican? I can't remember.
I'm a Republican.
That's good. Is Mary the one here now?
Marilyn Slavey has decided, once I filed, she decided that she would not be running for re-election.
Well, that's good, because she's never been here that I ever seen.
Well, I've been here twice in Sugar Creek Township and Brewster and every place else. You know, the Fairless Schools. Is Beach City covered under Fairless Schools,
Yes,
I
sir.
believe? That was a meeting. In fact, it was a really good meeting because I saw the impact of the Rover pipeline on their finances and the ability to finance their schools without going to the taxpayers for additional funds. Had a comparable discussion with Sugar Creek Township about that also.
When you were here last, Bill, you didn't know what you were gonna do. You were thinking about it.
And I made the decision, and I filed, and I've been endorsed by a whole lot of people, and these people know how hard I work, and, you know, the fact that if I say I'm gonna do something, I do it. So, does anybody else have any other questions while I'm here? I'll stick around after the meeting and talk to everybody, whoever would like to also. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, Jeff, do you want to,
Yes,
do the rest of it?
Got it.
I'm not sure what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
That's nothing new.
Well, as you guys all remember, maybe all of you remember, back in 2015, we went through and did a water and sewer rate analysis for you guys. We went through and did a capital improvement plan. We looked at all the things you need to do, adjusted your rates. You guys, I think, have got all those rates in place, right? I think so. So in the meantime, we've been kind of going through and talking with Don a little bit about some of these upcoming projects and how to possibly move forward with those, how to look at different funding strategies. And in that process, at the same time, you know, we're out and about in a lot of different communities. We ran into Johnson Controls. And what they do is they try to take a big picture look at an entire community. And they're going to get into much more detail. I'm just kind of giving a little bit of introduction. And the reason I wanted to bring them to you guys is because I think it's a different way to look at funding. It's a different way to look at a way to achieve a bigger picture type project where maybe you can do a lot of the projects that you need to do that was identified in this a couple years ago or 3 years ago, and roll them into one project by getting the savings back out of your community. So it's a real interesting and innovative way. This is in the Ohio Revised Code. This is something, I know it sounds a little bit different, but they'll talk in more detail to that. And so with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Mark and Raul, and they can answer all your questions, or at least that's what they're here for.
So thanks for having us, everyone. I'm Mark Weiss. I'm with Johnson Controls. I'm a solutions account executive in performance infrastructure, part of our company, and you may be familiar with Johnson Controls. We're a fairly big company, and we're doing a pretty large project right now. Sorry, I'm having trouble with this. We're doing a pretty large project right now in Stark County. Transition. I don't know where I'm going. Okay. Up the street at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So, I know we spoke to Mr. Bailey about that earlier. It's an exciting opportunity for us, but we're here to talk about infrastructure, performance infrastructure. And again, as Jeff identified, at Johnson Controls, we've been around since, I'm sorry, I wanted to go into an agenda. We're going to talk a little bit about infrastructure and how it can affect Beach City. I think Jeff hit on that, and give you a little background on Johnson Controls. I apologize.
We forgot our clicker. That's what makes it a little bit hard when you forget the clicker thing. Did it not get set up, or did I not do it right?
Sorry about this, team. I want to give you a little background on what we're talking about here: performance infrastructure, performance contracting, and the fact that you've already taken steps to work on a capital improvement plan with ADR Associates puts you in a position to see the future a little bit and know where you need to make investment, what opportunities might be out front of the village. And again, we want to talk to you about how you might be able to do that in a process under House Bill legislation in the state of Ohio, where you can utilize House Bill 420 to get performance infrastructure projects done or capital improvement projects done under design build with a guarantee. And that's there's flexibility in that legislation, and we'll talk a little bit about that. I want to talk about an example. I've got Rob Chitakala with us, wastewater treatment plant, wastewater treatment expert, and he's going to talk a little bit about examples of projects we've done in the past and he's performed on. I want to talk to you about energy and operational savings and how it can affect, again, a project, so that you're acting in the best steward position as possible for your constituents. Talk to you about a timeline and then potential next steps. And then I want to try and answer any questions you might have. Forgive me on that. Recognize, we do a little research before we come in, and Jeff shared a little bit of information with us, but we recognize that the Village of Beach City is committed to improving the lives of every citizen in Beach City, and what we're talking about here can contribute to that position. So we'll try and get through this and be in position to answer any questions you have. I want to give you a little background on Johnson Controls. We are a 130-year-old company. We were founded in 1885, and Warren Johnson founded our company, and he actually invented the first electric thermostat. So we've been in buildings and in municipalities and in infrastructure around the world since the late 1800s. We've got a large presence in Ohio. In fact, we've got more than 1,000 employees in Ohio. We've got more than 17 locations in the state of Ohio. So we're in your neighborhood. We're in the area. We've got employees throughout the state, and we're typically working in and around your communities. I wanted to give you a little background on performance infrastructure. We've got nationwide more than 2,500 guaranteed projects, and significant commitment there. And we talk about guarantees, and we'll talk about that. But part of the great benefit of a process like this is that it puts you in a position to reduce the risk on the community. So we'll talk about that and how that works. Got some background. We've been, a USGBC. That's the United States Green Building Council, for those that don't know. And I apologize, we get into a lot of acronyms in our business, but we are a founder of that. So when you hear about LEED buildings and LEED projects and LEED Platinum, Those are areas that we work in every day. We're always trying to make things run as efficiently and effectively as possible. And we are the largest engineering firm in the world.
And the one thing you didn't say is that if you take every battery in your car and flip it over,
Yeah, that's right. In fact, we manufacture more than 80% of the world's car batteries, and we do it for private label for DieHard and others. We're a big manufacturer of batteries. And in today's world, how that works or how that affects my business is we are now doing a lot of power storage for buildings. Renewable energy is becoming very affordable. It makes sense from an economy of scale. Whereas 10 years ago, it may not have made sense. Today it will. You see technologies improving like LED lighting, etc. That's the same situation that we're seeing in renewable energy. It's the economies of scale come far
Did you do a lot of
faster.
the batteries for the space shuttle then?
So I can't answer that one. That's a good question. I'd have to check on that.
I'm sorry, I mean, how about these little ones we get for the AAA batteries?
No,
Anything like that?
we're manufacturing marine batteries or car batteries, deep cycle, glass mat batteries. Lithium ion is where we're really putting a lot of time and effort in, and that lithium ion, we compete against like the Teslas of the world for battery storage. So we call it distributed energy storage. We're really looking to drive that value by combining it with solar or wind or other renewable energy sources that allow you to get resiliency and redundancy within your communities. And what can happen with that is that in a time of an emergency or a power outage, you would find that you still had power if you had those systems in place. And we're seeing that become more and more popular across the world. And in fact, again, it's driven from the affordability of that. There's payback in that. We try and do everything with a return on investment. And we do it again. In Ohio, we work under House bill legislation called performance contracting legislation. In Ohio, with a village or a city, we work under House Bill 420. Mayor, I brought you a copy of House Bill 420. I brought you a folder tonight. I'm going to just leave it with you. I was going to bring one for everybody, but I just wasn't certain how many. So I thought I'd bring one. If anyone else is interested, I get it to you electronically, and you can review it at your convenience. But House Bill 420 is an enabler. It's enabling legislation to utilize energy and operational savings within your existing infrastructure umbrella or portfolio to drive a project. So when we look at capital improvement projects, we can take and add energy and operational savings into that in a cash flow position, allow you to evaluate that, decide what fits the best, and come up with a project that's most likely to result in the greatest savings. So in essence, you might say, well, we've got a big project at the wastewater treatment plant, $2 million budget. We potentially could account for energy and operational savings from the improvements made there and reduce our overall cost for that project. Don't know how much, there's a process to that, but that's what we're here talking about. If there's interest, we can move forward to the next step, and it's still not a commitment.
If we was to put in a $500,000 water line, we always gotta come up with 20% of it. How are you gonna help us with that 20%? Is there a way?
Not on the water line side. It's just a capital intensive product. There's not a savings there. But we could actually do the water installation of the water line while we're doing another project.
But we gotta find the 20%, that's what our problem is.
Well, you're right, and there's potential to pull that from other savings and bundle them with that solution. I'm gonna talk a little more about that, so maybe that'll come up. I want to talk about opportunities throughout the water use cycle. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Chitakala here to talk a little bit about this slide. And Rao, you want to hit on what we're seeing here?
Thank you, Mark. I'm Rao Chitakala. Rao is R-A-O. And I support on the water, energy, and environmental issues, bring everything together when we are doing a project. And if there are any implications, we make sure all those things are taken care of. It could be permitting or process efficiency, energy efficiency, every bit of it. So to start with, this is basically we are looking at the total water infrastructure at a city or a town. And basically we use either water from a river or a stream or groundwater, and then we process it in the water treatment facilities. And once we process it to the potable quality, then we distribute it in the system, using the pumping systems, the towers, and supply it to all the residential, commercial, institutional, industrial, all 4 types. And then water is, as used by all these entities, then we have used water or the spent water or the sewage. Everything, flows down to the wastewater facility or wastewater that is piped to a facility wherever that is available, where the city or the towns are set up. So through the wastewater collection, all the water has to be treated within the wastewater plant. All the facilities have to be there. And interesting thing is wastewater collection unfortunately includes a lot of the inflows and infiltration, so that adds up the flows to the wastewater plant. But by the requirements of the EPA, we will have to process it and to the quality required to discharge back to the water stream. So all those, everything is, we are dealing with the water, we need the approvals, we are controlled by the quality. So it's all, so complex, when we are taking care of all the water facilities.
Is this part of what's going on in California right now, where they're taking the water from the wastewater treatment plant
Yeah.
and they're taking it through there and reusing the water at 99.7% pure?
It is still.
Is that part of that?
Yeah, it is still a bigger debate. For example, San Diego, they spent $1 billion to process the seawater,
I've been watching that.
desalination plant. A lot of people question, you are wasting all this treated good quality wastewater back into the sea. Why didn't you invest on that? So the big debate here is that still, although we see all that in the newspapers, it is still not happening to the 100%. So that's California situation.
But that's not what we're gonna do here, though.
Yeah.
So don't.
That's not true. We don't have to.
Yeah, we don't have a need for it
That's right.
in state
We-
of Ohio.
We're very plentiful in
Oh, I like the way
water.
you're getting that out.
That's right.
Well,
that's right.
we are blessed with water
Yeah.
for the whole state.
Yeah.
So, so that's the, looking at the whole picture on the water facilities, how we handle the water at the city or town, to nail down, looking in depth into a wastewater plant or a drinking water plant. For example, this is a wastewater plant. What we will look in at a wastewater plant is how the energy is used at each of the operations. For example, we blow air into the wastewater treatment in the secondary part, then how much energy it is taking. In general, that portion will take like up to 50%. So how effective is that? Why we are blowing so much air? And is that energy consumption is for good use, or can we optimize it? Is there room for it? So similarly, we will take a look at each and every unit operation at a wastewater plant and then assess where the room for efficiency. That's where when we can come down on the kilowatt hours, those are the savings on the energy side. So this goes into everything, wherever the kilowatt hours, wherever we use the electric, or wherever we use the potable water for doing something, cleaning up some things, or if we are firing natural gas for the heat or anything. So basically we look into all the uses of different utilities and see where the savings possibility is. That's how all the savings, when you add them up, that's the money that would be available to push into the cash flow, and that will minimize your investment. So this is just showing all these pie charts for different operations. So what exactly are these opportunities for savings generation at a wastewater plant or a drinking water plant, or general the buildings, the lighting, HVAC, and energy storage? For the wastewater, we just looked into the aeration, where we blow the air into the treating the wastewater, or the renewable energy. Renewable energy meaning that if a wastewater plant has a facility to recover the biogas, we can fire the biogas and make the energy out of it. So some of the bigger wastewater plants, even as small as like maybe a 5 million gallons per day wastewater processing plants, so they do have these. Even less than of the the wastewater facilities, they do have these biogas generation unit operations. So that's one renewable energy. Or we are talking solar energy or wind energy. So what are the possibilities at a given wastewater plant? And I quickly went through what ADR has prepared, the list of things that need to be accomplished at your wastewater plant, sludge dewatering. Yes, you can have some savings by upgrading those facilities. Drinking water includes the water metering and the leak detection, various pumping systems, having those efficient pumps. We can come down on the kilowatt hour needs. So basically looking at the whole picture, of all the water facilities and associated building facilities. And basically we can also extend this to citywide and see where the other needs are, and then combine everything, like Mark is talking about bundling everything. So you can have the total savings, and then then the direct investment can come down. This is just an example. I'm sorry, it's not so legible. Basically, we list out everything on a spreadsheet, all the elements, what we are reviewing, and what type of capital cost would be involved, and what's the operating cost, and where the savings are. So we will provide this detailed analysis on a spreadsheet, and those are the numbers. For the example of Johnson Controls, like company, they have to abide by these numbers. So these numbers are real, so we cannot deviate from it, and those are the numbers that would be guaranteed when we go into the contract.
And they're talking about taking this kind of level of detail at this building, at the treatment plant building, at the treatment plant itself, at each of those pump stations, at your street department building. I mean, all of your facilities, not just looking at one particular thing, like one line in that plan that we did for you, is to try to take a look at the whole thing, and then breaking that down as to, if you look at all of these lights, and then that savings then can come back out, and that's what I think they're getting into.
So moving from all the theoretical, the ideal discussion, we will get into some real case study where we have accomplished this. This is the city of Mount Vernon in Indiana. We did drinking water projects. We did a total of 4 phases.
You're having all kinds of computer problems.
Yeah,
today.
Johnson Controls. So
What river is that, the Wabash?
That's the Ohio.
Ohio River.
Okay.
It's 20 miles west of Evansville. We did a wastewater and water meter project at Evansville, and we did the drinking water project at City of Mount Vernon. So we are presenting the drinking water project, for example. And this, you can go back on that. This going back to that, they have a very old water intake from Ohio River since 1886, more than 125 years old. And under the phase 3, we rehabbed, that is going like 350 feet into the river and around 40 feet depth.
Sorry.
Are you losing the battery?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So we rehabbed that in the phase 3 project, and this is phase 2 and phase 4. These are the new filtration operations for the water plant. So we upgraded a good number of things for this plant. They started at 6 million gallons a day water processing, and by early 2000s they lost all that capacity because of the all used up infrastructure, and not reliable anymore. And they were even having problems to make 1 million gallon water per day. That was the situation when Johnson Controls was selected to do these projects. So we accomplished water meters, water booster stations, and even helping them with the billing software and some engineering, all those things included. What's happening? All right. Filtration facilities, that's 2 pairs of filters we added, and Clearwell. Computer is not working. The SCADA, the controls and automation upgrades, and lighting and efficient buildings. We did a total of 3 buildings, 2 filtration buildings and 1 electrical building to get out of that 100-year flood zone. And IDEM, it's the Indiana Department of Environmental Management. in addition to adding the chlorine to the drinking water for disinfection, now they are asking to add UV to take care of the Cryptosporidium protozoan microbes. So, you know, what happened in Milwaukee back in '93, I think, so that in Ohio River intake upgrades. So the benefits were valued at more than 25 million, but out of this, the actual economic benefit, you can go on to the next slide. Okay, I thought we had because the whole water plant was not reliable anymore, they were losing a lot of economic growth. The Evansville, the southern Indiana, Evansville and Mount Vernon, it's a good economic zone. And the city of Mount Vernon, they turned away a lot of the industry they wanted to move in because they could not guarantee the water supply. And those industries who wanted to move in, they were not really interested in having their own water facilities. So that was a loss of economy for so many years. So we started around I think early 2000s, and by 2013 timing, the whole plant was rehabbed, and now they don't have to turn down any more industry from the city. And that's a drinking water example. And other examples are, we did membrane bioreactor wastewater technology replacement in kind at Geauga County wastewater plant in Ohio. And we did, phosphorus. Everybody knows that it's always in the news what's happening with the harmful algal blooms. So we did the wastewater and the phosphorus removal at City of Warren, Michigan plant, and City of Monroe. We did the sludge dewatering, that's in Michigan as well. Sludge dewatering upgrades. And City of Baltimore, Maryland, we did the biogas to energy. They were all flaring up, all the 1 million cubic feet per day of the biogas. You have around 600 BTU per cubic foot energy value. They were wasting by flaring for so many decades. So I think it was in mid 2000 timing, Johnson Controls did the biogas to energy project, and that's a lot of savings to the city of Baltimore. And there are several examples like that, the experience Johnson Controls has. I think I'm turning back to you, Mark. Thank you.
This slide kind of shows how performance contracting works, and we, as Val mentioned, we work with utility savings and operational savings as well. So this slide demonstrates if you had gas, water, and electric bills of, say, in this particular example, it's pretty high, it's $10 million. We say to our customers that we can save you between 20 and 30% off of your utility spend. How is because of the processes that we just talked about with Route. We talked about going from traditional lighting, T5 lighting, to LEDs. There's significant savings there. We talked about changing out your water, domestic water and plumbing, to upgrade to newer systems with low flow capabilities so that we reduce the amount of water that goes with each flush. We do things that make sense practically, but also have high payback, so return on investment is big. Controls, building automation systems, just the controls platform to run your buildings to make sure that when you're not occupying an area, you're not heating it, you're not lighting it, you're not using it, it goes off. So we do those kinds of things that make a lot of practical sense. We don't just do those arbitrarily. We work with you as a customer to say, okay, here's what we need. Let's figure out what fits best into our budget and what we're looking to accomplish as a city or as a village, and we'll get that kind of work done. So if we can save you 25% of your bill, we can capture that savings here and use that in House Bill 420. And we use that in House Bill 420 to help you go to the bank, and we take out a loan and we finance a project driven from the energy and operational savings. So it liquidates itself. It's self-funding, okay? So that's the big difference about this process. It pays for itself out of energy and operational savings. So that's not to say that you can't inject capital. Go ahead.
So one of the most simplistic ideas is water meters. So if you got your water meters out there and they're not collecting, all water meters run slow. They never run fast. You guys don't ever win from a water meter going bad. The customer wins, right? Everyone understands that. It just runs slower and slower, so your revenue stream is less. So one of the ideas is if you can look at all of your water meters, put new ones in there, then you're capturing that revenue that he's talking about right here. So if this is a water meter project and you're able to then capture back X number of dollars in billing, now you've got that money that you didn't have before that you're able to then inject into a new project. Now, think of that on a big scale. Think of that as lights. Think of that as your water meters. Think about new blowers at the treatment plant. Think of that as new high efficiency pumps. VFDs, variable frequency drives on those pumps. So the pumps ramp up and ramp down, back down instead of hard start, hard stop, hard start. All of those things comes to basically either smaller energy bills or actual revenue back into you guys. So all of that revenue then is captured as that blue slice right here. And then you're able to take that slice of money to then do a project that you need to do.
So I think if what Jeff just said, if it's clear that you're currently spending this amount of money and you're gonna save this amount, then you're actually just reducing your utility bills and using the money differently. You're paying that every month anyway. You're just taking and repurposing those dollars. Does that make sense? And that's enabled under House bill legislation. It was enabled in 1985 in the state of Ohio. Go ahead, Rob.
Explaining the capital avoidance when
So,
that is needed.
so in addition to that, we're a very conservative company, and when we talk about this process, there's a guarantee involved, and so there's risk, and we take the risk off of a project, a capital improvement project for a city or a town or a county, and we take it onto our shoulders by accepting that risk and saying, okay, this is going to do what we say it's going to do. All these improvements are going to result in the results that we are assuring you are going to happen. If they don't, we pay you a check for the difference. We don't like to write checks. We like to be right. And again, we go back to, we take energy and operational savings. There's also CapEx dollars. You are going to inject.
CapEx is?
You're going to spend money in capital improvements, capital expenditures, for example, a new press at the wastewater treatment plant. Well, take and capture that, because there's also a savings that comes along with that investment. The savings is that you had a 1978 press in there, and now you're putting in one from today. There's a huge capabilities difference in the two, not to mention the fact that one consumes much more energy than the other one. We account for all of that in these numbers, and that's where we get into the cash flow with you. And again, we work with you to define that as we're going through that. And we can actually break it up every.
Why don't these people that's building these new plants, you know, when we put, I forget how many years ago that we added to it, wouldn't they know this stuff is out there? Why would they not buy certain stuff to be able to do this, instead of us getting the old stuff and then we gotta end up changing to get a better deal?
Right. And that's a great question. I think oftentimes you're looking at things on a first cost basis. So you're saying, well, we want it to be as affordable as possible, and yet we should have maybe looked at it more like a life cycle cost, because we're gonna be in this building for the next 30 or 50 years. Let's get, quality.
That's right, and you've been around a long time, so you gotta know about this stuff.
Sure. Well, yeah, and so do your people. We really do work to co-author a solution with the customer. We want to serve the owner. That's what we're here for. So we're going to be working closely with your engineers, your operators, your directors of all your different utilities, so that everybody has a say in it. And then that's what we're going to do. And we're going to present the numbers to you in a way that makes sense and allows you to make a decision based off of numbers. Well, operators are saying it helps us overcome a lack of resources. We like to say that it's a single point of responsibility, which is on us. Again, I talk about that risk coming on to the contractor. And we're really a general contractor at this point. We're running a big construction project for you, and we're guaranteeing the results. So one of the other keys to the process is that there are no change orders. So we say here a limit of change orders, but in fact we tell you that we will not come to you, the customer, with a change order, which is a little different than a typical design build process. It's self-funding, and so, again, this is utility spend that you're already spending, and yet you're capturing the savings here that allow you to fund that project. Does that make sense? You can get a number of different improvements done at once, and this is one of the things that we talked to Jeff about. You have to come in and you can do a project, or you could look at it and say, well, let's do all these projects and get it done. And that way we're reaping the benefit of having the return on investment that can come with it. Timeline here is, we typically go through a preliminary analysis, and this is a free service that we offer. We do it under a memorandum of understanding, and there is no cost to the owner, the customer. We simply come in and take a look at all of your facilities, and then come back to you with a report that would allow you to know what you had ahead of you. And I think, in the case of,
And that's kind of the basis for you guys to be able to say, correct me if I'm wrong.
yeah, you're right.
That's the basis for you guys to look at that and go, and for them to know, oh, I think there's an opportunity here, or for them to come back to you and go, you're not really gonna save anything, or for them to come back and say, oh, if you do this and this and this, you have an opportunity. That's that first step, right?
That's right. And so at that point, we would know whether or not you have a project that can pay for itself out of savings. And we can do that pretty quickly. You see, it would take 30 to 45 days with something like that. We could probably turn that around really in 3 to 4 weeks. But we come in and spend a day in your buildings. We're going to need access to them. And then we talk to you about maybe gathering some utility summaries so we can look at what your utility spends are for gas, water, and electric. And we could probably get a building inventory and kind of size it up from there. And then we work with you, and if we define that there's a project, we work with you to suggest that you likely next step is to go to RFQ, and that's a public procurement, and it's a request for qualifications, and you're looking to select an ESCO, which is an energy services company, someone like a Johnson Controls, a Trane, a Honeywell, a Siemens. These companies that are capable of coming in and helping you get this work done under that procurement process. And then we'll develop a project for you if selected. Ultimately, you're into a design build process at that point. And again, how we can help each city, we feel like, a memorandum of understanding so that we can discover if there's savings opportunities within the community, within the infrastructure. And at that point, we would come back and present that to this group right here and say, okay, here's what we've got, and allow you to make a decision on whether or not to move forward from there. Ultimately, if you say, yes, we want to move forward, you would work with ADR, Johnson Controls, to verify the opportunity, and then if we present and you decide to move forward, then ultimately you would issue that request for qualification. And I think that's really it, and I apologize for the presentation not going the way I would have wanted, technology, but I was hoping you might have some questions out of that presentation.
So basically, you're saying without us ever spending a dime, you're gonna come in here, you're gonna look at all of our operations.
Right, go ahead.
And then come back to us and say, this is where we think you have the potential to save money by doing this. This is how much potential you could save. I mean, so we have no risk up front.
That's right, Mayor. In fact, we get to that point. In fact, Rob, could you back up to that slide? That first MOU, that memorandum of understanding, when we're doing that diligence, the commitment from you is access, right? And it is time and access. So it can be, a challenge to a community to allow us to come in. We do it all the time, so we try and be unobtrusive. We want to work with your people at that point, develop rapport, understanding of the things that they see on a daily basis, the challenges that they face, and really do a lot of question asking. So it can be a bit taxing, but other than that, we're not going to send you a bill. We're going to simply ask that we are allowed to come back and present our findings to this same group. And at that point, then you would have some concrete information in front of you that would allow you to decide whether or not to continue down that road, or no, we're going to go a different direction. So it just gives you more information and knowledge to make a good decision. And it's an alternative. I mean, it's an option for you and for every community. And it really comes down to, do you have enough infrastructure, buildings, wastewater treatment plants, water treatment plants. You have the needs, water meters, infrastructure-wise, that can justify a project.
We have the needs, we have the issues, we don't always have the money.
So that's what
Which
this
is
helps.
not
I mean, this
unlike any
procurement
other
process,
small community
you know,
of our size, you know.
Yeah.
There's a need, we have some old infrastructure in this town, I don't think any of us here are surprised by that.
I guess what we thought was a little different with this approach was that obviously we've been here for quite a while and you can look at each one of those projects individually and like Bailey, you said a little bit ago, you need 20% because that's what all these funding sources that are out there say. You got a 20% match to go after OPWC, CDBG, you know, all the acronyms that are out there. And then you can get one project done, maybe one a year or one every other year, depending on that amount of money that you guys can save back is that 20%. So when Johnson Controls came to us and kind of laid out this concept of being able to look at all of your facilities, all of your infrastructure, if you go through and you change all the light bulbs to LED, if you go through and fix these things, you know, the amount of money that you're not spending anymore on electric, or the amount of money that you're actually getting in lost revenues for your water bill, can then fund these other projects that you need to do.
But you have to have the capital up front first to even get off the, I mean,
Well-
if you say, okay, we're gonna replace all the light bulbs with LEDs, no one's gonna send us a truckload full of free LED bulbs.
Well, we
We're
look at
obviously
it
gonna have to
comprehensively,
buy 'em,
Mayor.
you know.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's all right.
I was gonna tell you, we look at it comprehensively and we go in, again, to the development process, knowing that, there's gonna be some costs associated with developing a project. And what we commit to you then at that point is to say, okay, if we develop this from full engineering study, either you're going to pay us for that engineering study at that point, or you're gonna institute the project. And if you initiate and engage us with the project, then we roll that funding right, or that cost right into the cost of the project.
So, and I don't know that you probably hit enough on, at the end of this, they say you will save annually?
So yes, so we come up with annual energy savings and annual savings on water, electric, and gas that will fund the project. So in essence, yes, you can inject capital dollars into a project like this, but also we have seen where projects have funded themselves.
Yeah.
It doesn't, if you've got capital dollars available to make the project, it can enhance the project. But you've got choices to make about what can fund itself, right? So, I'm sorry, a new roof, for example, may cost 50 years to replace or to pay for itself over time, right? I think you can accrue it over 45 years. I'm not an accountant, but.
He said the roof word.
Can't you see everybody looking?
I did too, and
They're all-
they hit me like a ton of bricks.
I should've turned around better so they could all look at me.
But you know they take a long time to pay for themselves. They're very
Don't
capital
mention that word
intensive.
again.
And when you combine them with what's
Use the
called a
roof
light,
all you
for
want to.
example, you bring down that total ROI, and what you're looking at a bundled ROI, return on investment. So that's what we're always looking at with you, is to give you internal rate of return for each line item, and then you can make a selection, more like a menu selection of what suits the city best, or the village best. And what do we have to get done? What will pay for itself? You can look at it that way, or we can say, okay, well, we can also inject dollars into this, and we can get more work done under one project. So it's up to you, and it's done in a very transparent way along the way. We're working with you every step of the way to share the information we're finding so that you can make a good decision based on what's best for the community.
I didn't even plant that in his mind, you know that.
Roof? I was gonna say windows, but I don't know how, roofing came to my head, or came to my mouth, so.
Yeah.
Bad word.
I know that was a lot. Is there any other questions? This is a different concept even to me because it's a different procurement method. It's a different delivery method. You know, us as engineers, we're used to the design build or the design bid build method, and that's kind of what the traditional way to do these projects are. And you kind of do them one at a time, unless you have a lot of capital and want to bite off more than that. But this is just a different delivery mechanism where they take all of those energy back out and inject it back in.
To get all of it done at once versus Where
Piecemeal.
oftentimes if you piecemeal it, we see that the monies fall back or trickle back into the budget and don't get repurposed the right way. Maybe an emergency comes up and you gotta spend them here, you gotta put out this fire over
I
there.
mean, the best thing's going is Johnson's Control has $100 million they can give to us, and we can go ahead and do these projects.
We do contingent financing, you're correct. We will.
I ain't planning on paying no interest.
Well, see, that's the problem there. So when we do a contingent financing, it often's more expensive than if you were to go to your
I've
bank.
been watching the project in Canton a lot.
Question.
Question?
How many communities have you gone into and then, you didn't do it? But didn't work out?
Okay, so that happens. It does happen, especially, we're looking for a certain size project to do this on because it takes the same amount of resources, whether it's one size project versus a very large project. So that's a great question, and oftentimes it happens where we say, you know what, you just don't have enough stuff or infrastructure or buildings to drive a project. So what would happen out of that though is that the customer is going to get, again, they're still going to get that knowledge about their infrastructure. They're going to know, okay, well, we still have to deal with that over there, that capital improvement need. So we're still going to have to do some of this. And strategically, you could, as a community, apply some of this process within by self-implementing it too, and that's a risk we face as well. A lot of times, our customers that are, if the project doesn't fit, we suggest that they try and get that done again with their engineer because it's going to behoove them and it's going to bring value to the community. You just might have to do it with a little more patience and do it a piece at a time, as Jeff said, piecemeal it. But any step towards it is bringing you value. I just would say that we see oftentimes where if those dollars come back into the budget that they simply fall through and you don't end up getting all the work done versus if you have this opportunity that's financeable because of the value that's driven from savings, then you have a great opportunity at your fingertips. Get the project done now and then you've secured your future. So
What's the approximate cost of some of those examples you gave?
So cost-wise is subjective. It's completely subjective. Could we get more definite? Is there anything
Well,
particular?
like the examples that you gave, there was the Indiana one along the Ohio River.
So that was a big project. I think it was a $25 million project, but it was also 4 phases of work. I'm sorry, Rob, go ahead.
Yeah, I think they were $2 million, $4 million, and a $7.5, and a $13 million, something like that.
Okay.
I think our average
City
project.
had to pay out
Yeah, I mean,
to get everything.
with the cash flow model. So, because they have accomplished a couple of things each time.
And that's what I was gonna say about our average project is around $4 million. Typically, we work in the $1 to $2 million is probably the most consistent. Again, go back to average, $4 million. We do larger projects that bring those numbers up, but majority of projects we're looking for to try and get $1 to $2 million worth of work done and help a community out that way. So.
And that's total cost, or is that the municipalities piece of it?
Well, that would be a finance project, right?
Okay.
So you're gonna go to the bank and finance this, and the banks love this process. We finance with banks all the time, with communities. As long as your credit's in good standing, what they see is, number one, you're working with an ESCO that's guaranteeing the results of the project. So they know that it pays for itself. So it's self-liquidating.
So that's a complete project.
With a complete one. So again, you're already spending these dollars on your current utility spend. You're taking that current utility spend and you're gonna reduce it by anywhere from 20 to 30%, and you're gonna use that chunk of money to fund another project.
And then the money we would pay your company would depend on the large scope of the project?
Sure.
Is that
Sure.
an
You
accurate
would
statement?
define the project mayor. So it would be based on the project.
Yeah, it could be similar to how you do in a design build with the fee for the engineering and the contingencies. Similar, those elements will roll into this cash flow.
So-
Yes, in fact, design build on steroids, if you will, I think, with the guarantee, right? And I say it all the time.
So where is the nearest project you put together
So from
from here?
we've worked in 77 of the 88 counties in the state of Ohio. So we've done a lot of school work in this area. I'd have to look at it specifically to give you that answer. I think Jackson Schools right up in Canton. We're working again at the Pro Football Hall of Fame right now.
And the $2 million, I think, close to the Geauga County.
Geauga County at the wastewater treatment plant. You know, pretty much every county and community we've touched since we've been in business in Ohio. So I can get you references at your request. I have included some reference letters in this folder for the mayor, and I think there's a reference letter from our Licking County. We just completed a big project at Licking County. My team recently, most recently, did Northern Local Schools. We also recently completed Athens County, and
Yeah, Athens County is a good example, and we did a lot of traditional, and then the small wastewater plant, they did not have the emergency generator. So when I was talking with the operator, said, Rob, unless the EPA is going to push me really hard, I'm not going to buy an emergency generator. So I
Did
said,
Athens County take into college too at the same time?
no, they did not. They work separately, in fact, and the college handles their own business, and then the city does as well. So we're working with we just finished a big project with the county, but we're also, you know, working in that same area and same community with, you know, others within the community, obviously.
Now, you guys have your own, the police and the fire are the villages, so that'd be two other facilities.
Correct. Yeah, you would want us, if we were to take the next step and enter into an MOU, which I've given you a copy of that, Mayor, to review, you'd want to look at all your infrastructure, all your buildings, and because it behooves you to, and get the information at the least. So we will do that as our commitment to you to discover whether or not there's a bigger opportunity, and that's really what we're looking for, to try and determine whether or not it makes sense for the community to move forward.
So, I guess what you're saying is you guys will come in here and pretty much we'll look at all our facilities and just take a little bit of time from the employees that are, I'm one of them, and then give us a breakdown of where we can save money at and what projects we can do to save money and offset this, and then give us the cost of which these projects are in.
We're gonna give you a high-level look at what that is. We won't drill down into the absolute cost
Sure.
for a project,
So
but we
guess
can
the-
identify them based on, you'll see a priority almost come out of it and go, okay, well, if we
And
don't
that's
do this.
before we even spend any.
That's correct. That's correct. You know, again, and the reason we're doing that is so that then we can work with you to define that, so.
Yeah, I don't have any problem. Do you guys have a?
Oh, no, I think it's a great
Yeah.
idea.
I mean, we're not risking anything. Let's
Lot of
see,
information.
we know there's things here that need done. It's worth looking into, definitely. I think we'd be foolish if we didn't.
It's a look at,
It's a win-win.
right, can we do something to better, because I mean, I know I've been here long enough to see everything, all these little things that you guys are, got to do. This may be a way to nibble out a big chunk of them.
I'd like to have some examples of some of the projects you've done.
Will do.
How it's saved them.
We do, in fact, I gave this to the mayor as well. And I have a number of different tools like that that I can get to you, so.
Did you give me that, or you're gonna give me that?
It's a folder.
Okay.
There ain't nothing else we got to pass, John's gotta leave.
Shouldn't be. no.
Okay. I think it's-
I will actually leave this on this table, so that if any of you want
I get
to
to
look
work.
at it.
You gotta go to work.
I work
Well,
12 hours.
copies
a
of it
day.
or anything, I'll
I
leave
lose
it.
like
Where to drive
$7.
to?
Can't.
I
I
won't
lose
have
like
to crawl under my
$75
door.
a night
For the
when I do.
Yeah.
members, Steve,
But that's fine. That's my job.
to do it
I
up
just
like-
like- Yeah, you know, but one thing,
That was the other.
I can email
Yes.
all of this so that Steve and the mayor have it, and there's the memorandum. You could read I actually think that's in the village of Beach City. This is, should be appropriate. So, some of the references, Mrs. Bennett, are, there could be a couple references.
There
I'll
was
send
some
them
here,
to the,
yeah.
I'll send them to the mayor and Steve McIntyre. And I'll get them to Steve so that he can forward them to all of you.
Yeah, and we can print it out for you.
Will you email me the MOU too?
Sure will.
I can link this copy.
Sure will.
Okay.
So it's a full package.
We'll get you a copy of the MOU, I'll get you a copy of the legislation, we'll get you a copy of the next steps, so that if the community was to move forward, you'd have a little bit of a head start to review that.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you,
All right,
everyone.
thank you for your
Really
time.
appreciate you guys' time. I know that was a long one.
Thanks for being patient with the presentation, I apologize for that.
It's all your fault. We don't.
I am not the technology genius, for sure.
That's okay, I can't operate a cell phone either.
On your screen, where you have the transition tab here, if you would hit none.
Oh, you're gonna do the
Stop
second?
moving, and then you just click on each one.
That's what I was wondering.
Well, I didn't want to interrupt, so, but just hit none, and you're good.
Okay, and that was the transition, right?
And transitions, yes.
That's awesome.
I wanted to come hold you so bad.
I was thinking the same.
Oh, yeah, it's like.
You have a question, Hazel?
That survey that came in from Augusta. Got a letter asking me to survey. They wanted to kind of improve this, to check to see if the city had a evacuation plan in place in case there was a pipeline piece of it. And I would also like to know if they would have, if you have that, if you have one on the builder list.
I believe there is an emergency evacuation thing, and I asked that when I first
So you're different than the guy used to be here? No, it was me. Okay, so what do you, so these guys are from Johnson and Johnson.
Good. Just one Johnson.
That's the simplest term. That was what they.
You probably have a current pipeline that you stay for the energy meeting, which I don't have that.
Facilities. And it's a brand new school. And they say I can't have anybody there.
I'll just send you the ones that I took, and then I'll do it right now.
And that's, yeah, it's the same thing.
I am. My camera's over there.
Same guys
Mhm.
This is where the danger level is. Need help here. Did you? If anything else, just email. Okay, so was it the whole from 7 o'clock or, I mean, have you been here a while?
Oh, we did. Yes, altitude out, yeah, and that's where we got our water. That's one of our biggest problems in town. Yeah, I guess we know the railroad has a gas company. Straight down, my water, my personally 6 months now. Our water was like 72%.
I work with the gas company or the fire department like a year, and we have the manpower at our.
I know on that trench, but you had a guy in. Yep.
So, I mean, other than that, I'm in writing, I guess you have to look at the individual
I mean, I was,
process, so.
yeah, I was talking to.
That's what we was planning on, because I don't.
Been working on that too, and I had, Fish Park. Big buildings, 6
You wanna,
months ago, we went through, I got the report in there.
We wanna do that
What
at,
they said we'd say, yeah.
the first meeting in,
Yeah, but that was
May?
just on a small scale, wasn't a big scale.
that work? Cause I know the next council meeting, I'm gonna be running late.
Sewer plant, that's a big.
Hopefully I'll get there, this new doctor I went back going to see on Monday nights, so. I'd be pushing it to get here for a meeting before the regular meeting. But if we wanna do something on the first Monday in May, have a committee meeting, we should do that. We'll go ahead and do that. Put that in the notes, Deb. And what's that?
That's it?
Yes.
Okay.
And, John Courtney's our, consultant from Water and Electric.
Cause actually,
I haven't adjourned us
we got the next meeting, and we got 3 weeks off.
Right.
So first meeting in May.
Replace the water.
Is there anything else anybody else has?
Need to do.
No? All right, then the meeting is
Well, I was
adjourned.
working on